Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem. Joining us now to discuss is Don Kaufman, co-founder of trading educator TheoTrade. Thank you, Don Kaufman, for joining us. So looking at Bitcoin right now, it's still trading within a very narrow trading range, low 20s right now. Where do you see the price headed?
Yeah, you've seen quite a bit of stability in some of the price action, a bit of a rally off some of the recent lows. Unfortunately, implied volatility, again, I'm a degree of a quant and a little bit of an option geek when it comes to crypto markets. But unfortunately, implied volatility has actually fallen quite considerably, which doesn't necessarily bode well for the very near future. And although there's been a little bit of decoupling between like NASDAQ and the crypto marketplace, the interesting irony of that happens to be that I think that's going to come raging back. And the very catalyst to spark that, possibly tomorrow morning's CPI.
All right, so we just heard from Marathon Digital CEO Fred Thiel saying that he doesn't see Bitcoin going beyond, low teens in the 20s. Mike Novogratz went on to Bloomberg, the CEO of Galaxy Digital, saying that he's doubtful that Bitcoin will push through 30,000. Where do you see support and resistance?
You know what? I really actually appreciate some of the comments of your previous guest there just a moment ago, simply because he's got it right. There's a huge cost of carry built into Bitcoin right now. And I think that the lower teens are not only plausible, I think that probably has to happen for degrees of capitulation to ultimately play out inside of the marketplace. But as it pertains to cost of carry, what I'm just referencing right now is the interest rate. Again, a lot of miners, a lot of just, individuals involved in the crypto marketplace are using some type, again, of loan, of debt instrument to actually carry their crypto, especially the mining operations. So as interest rates start to appreciate, not enough emphasis being put on that, whereby ultimately, as rates start to go up, a 75 basis point hike is unfathomably large to a crypto mining facility that is, again, they're going to be paying like double digits, and that's not going to back off anytime soon. It's very difficult at this point in time to want to be wildly bullish in terms of day-to-day price action in Bitcoin specifically until we get ultimately the Fed turning the table a little bit to a little bit more, maybe some dovish comments, and we could be quite a distance away from that. I mean, largely predicated on some of the indicators we've seen. I mean, take a look at the jobs number. We never thought we'd be talking about, crypto and then the jobs number, but you have to. I mean, the jobs number was phenomenally, large. The unemployment rate was incredibly low. And, that coupled with maybe inflation tomorrow, if inflation runs hot, I mean, that is just going to be foot right down to the floor for the Fed to say, hey, we're going to drive interest rates. Believe me, they're going to be talking about 100 basis point increase by possibly tomorrow if CPI comes in hot.
Oh, very hawkish. Well, Americans see inflation plunging next year, according to a New York Federal Reserve survey I mentioned earlier. And so if that happens, I mean, could we possibly see a dovish Fed sooner than later? And, where do you think? Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things I look at extensively is when we talk about inflation, turning into stagflation or deflation. Listen, once inflation grips hold, okay, we're entrenched in it right now. We've got a strong dollar also in the U.S., which is exporting inflation to the rest of the world. This is not something that's just going to abate overnight. We talk about inflation kind of dumping down. What are we going to be looking at? 5.9, 6.1% for some of the headline CPI numbers. And that's still going to keep the Fed, on the trigger to ultimately, pull out more rate hikes as need be. There's no question that the Fed is going to hike. We're going to go into a period of pause. The markets may love it. The crypto markets may love it. Nevertheless, I think it's going to be quite a significant period of time before we go back to that truly dovish stance. And again, I come from a much more market making and trading background, and we're seeing the exact same thing inside of equity markets. It's not a lovely position to be in, looking at rates getting hiked, because again, it's breaking these particular trades. Again, when it comes to crypto, though, it's no similar, not dissimilar in the fact that it's the mining operations that are going to be feeling some extraordinary pain when it comes to short-term interest rates and the hikes that are going to be prevalent here in the very near future.